Jake Miller sat in the back seat of his black car and stared out the window. The small town of Springfield looked exactly the same as it did 20 years ago. The same old shops lined Main Street. The same weathered signs hung from the same buildings. Even the traffic light at the center of town still took forever to change from red to green. His driver had asked him 3 times where he wanted to go, but Jake couldn't answer. He had just buried his mother 2 hours ago. The funeral was small and quiet, just like she would have wanted. Now he felt lost. He was one of the richest men in America, but sitting in his hometown, he felt like that confused kid who used to struggle with reading. Jake was 38 years old and worth over $2 billion. His company had created one of the most popular social media apps in the world. Millions of people used it every day. Business magazines put his face on their covers. People called him a genius. But right now, he just felt tired and sad. He told his driver to stop at the first restaurant they saw. It happened to be Murphy's Diner, a small place with a red roof and windows that needed cleaning. Jake had eaten there many times as a teenager. His mother used to take him there after his doctor appointments. The food wasn't fancy, but it was good and cheap. Jake walked inside and chose a booth in the corner. He wanted to be alone with his thoughts. The diner was nearly empty. It was 3 in the afternoon, too late for lunch and too early for dinner. A few older men sat at the counter drinking coffee and talking about the weather. Country music played softly from an old radio behind the counter. He picked up the plastic menu and tried to focus on the words. Even after all these years and all his success, reading still took him longer than most people. The letters seemed to move around on the page. He had learned to manage his dyslexia, but it never really went away. A waitress approached his table with a notepad in her hand. She wore a blue uniform with a white apron that had seen better days. Her brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she looked tired. Jake didn't look up from his menu at first. "What can I get you today?" she asked. That voice. Jake knew that voice. He slowly raised his head and couldn't believe what he saw. Standing next to his table was Lisa Carter. She looked older, of course, but he would know those kind eyes anywhere. "Lisa," he said quietly. She stared at him for a moment, confused. Then her eyes grew wide. "Jake? Jake Miller? Oh my goodness, is that really you?" Jake stood up and they hugged awkwardly. Lisa stepped back and looked at him from head to toe. He was wearing jeans and a plain black shirt, nothing fancy. Nothing that would make anyone think he was rich. "I can't believe it's you," Lisa said. "What are you doing here? I mean, in Springfield. I thought you lived in California now." "I was here for my mother's funeral," Jake said. His voice was quiet and sad. "Your mother? Oh, Jake, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was sick." "Cancer," Jake said simply. "It happened fast." Lisa put her hand on his arm. "I'm so sorry. Your mother was such a sweet woman. She was always so proud of you." Jake nodded, but didn't trust himself to speak. His mother had been proud of him, but she had also worried about him. She remembered the little boy who couldn't read properly. She remembered how other kids made fun of him. She remembered how hard everything was for him in school. "Please sit down," Lisa said. "I'll get you some coffee." Jake sat back down in the booth. Lisa returned quickly with a pot of coffee and 2 cups. She poured coffee for both of them and sat across from him. "I can't believe you're here," she said again. "It's been what, 20 years?" 21 years since graduation," Jake said. Lisa nodded. "You look good, Jake, really good. I heard about your company. Everyone in town talks about how you became this big success story." Jake felt uncomfortable. He didn't like talking about his success, especially not here in this diner where he felt like that struggling teenager again. "What about you?" he asked. "Are you happy? Do you have a family?" Lisa's smile faded a little. "I have 2 kids. Ben is 12 and Amy is 8. They're great kids." "And your husband?" Lisa looked down at her coffee cup. "We're divorced. It's been just me and the kids for 2 years now." Jake noticed she didn't want to talk about it. He remembered how smart Lisa had been in school. She was the valedictorian of their class. She had gotten a full scholarship to Stanford University. Everyone said she was going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something important. Are you still in medicine? Jake asked. He remembered that Lisa had always wanted to be a doctor. No, Lisa said quietly. I was in nursing school for a while, but I had to stop. Life got complicated. An older man at the counter called out for more coffee. Lisa looked over at him, then back at Jake. I have to get back to work, she said. But it's so good to see you, Jake. Really. She started to get up, but Jake reached out and touched her hand. Lisa, wait. Can we talk more, maybe after your shift? Lisa hesitated. I don't get off until 9 tonight, and I have to pick up the kids from my neighbor's house. What about tomorrow? Are you working tomorrow? I work every day except Sunday, Lisa said. But I could meet you for a few minutes during my break. Around 3 in the afternoon? I'll be here, Jake said. Lisa smiled and walked away to help the man at the counter. Jake watched her move around the diner. She was still the same kind. Person he remembered from high school. She had always been patient with him when he struggled to read. She had never made him feel stupid or different. But something was wrong. He could see it in her eyes. The Lisa he remembered had been full of dreams and hope. This Lisa looked tired and worried. She looked like someone who was fighting a battle that was too big for her. Jake finished his coffee and left a $20 tip on a $5 meal. As he walked to his car, he couldn't stop thinking about Lisa. What had happened to her dreams? Why was she working in a diner instead of helping people as a nurse or a doctor? He had found success beyond his wildest dreams, but Lisa, who had been so much smarter and more talented than him, was struggling. It didn't seem fair, it didn't seem right. Jake sat in his car for a long time before telling his driver to take him to his hotel. He had a lot to think about before tomorrow's meeting. With Lisa, Jake couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about Lisa and the sadness in her eyes. He remembered how she used to help him with his homework after school. While other kids made fun of him for reading slowly, Lisa never laughed. She would sit with him for hours, helping him sound out words and understand math problems. Lisa had been the smartest person in their class. Teachers loved her. She always had the right answers. She was going to change the world. At least that's what everyone said back then. Jake got up early and drove to Murphy's Diner again. He arrived at 2:30, 30 minutes before Lisa's break. He wanted to make sure he got the same corner booth where they had sat yesterday. The lunch crowd was finishing up when Lisa saw him. She waved from across the room and held up one finger, telling him she would be there in a minute. Jake watched her clear tables and take orders. She moved quickly but smiled at every customer. Even when she looked tired, she was kind to everyone. Tapioti. Exactly 3 o'clock, Lisa poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down across from Jake. I'm glad you came back, she said. I wasn't sure you would. I told you I would be here, Jake said. I always keep my promises. Lisa smiled. You always did, even in high school. You were one of the most honest people I knew. They sat quietly for a moment, both thinking about the past. Finally, Jake spoke. Lisa, can I ask you something? What happened? I mean, you were going to be a doctor. You had everything planned out. Lisa's smile disappeared. She looked down at her coffee cup and took a deep breath. Life happened, Jake. Things don't always go the way we plan. But you were so smart. You had that full scholarship to Stanford. I went to Stanford, Lisa said. I studied there for 2 years. I was doing well. I was happy. What changed? Lisa was quiet for a long time. Jake could see she was deciding whether to tell him the truth. My mom got sick, Lisa finally said. Cancer, just like your mom. I came home to take care of her. I was only going to stay for 1 semester, but the cancer got worse. I couldn't leave her alone. Jake nodded. He understood about sick mothers. Met Danny while I was home. He was working at the car repair shop downtown. He was handsome and funny, and he made me forget about how sad everything was. We got married when I was 22. That sounds nice, Jake said. It was nice well, we had Ben first, then Amy. I thought I could go back to school after the kids got older. I started nursing school when Ben was 5. I was doing really well. Lisa stopped talking and stared out the window. Jake waited patiently. He remembered that Lisa sometimes needed time to find the right words. Then Mom's cancer came back. Lisa continued. It was worse this time. The treatments were expensive, really expensive. We had insurance, but it didn't cover everything. Danny worked extra hours, and I kept going to school at night while taking care of Mom during the day. That must have been hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I thought we could handle it. I thought if I became a nurse, I could make good money and pay off the medical bills. Lisa's voice started to shake. Jake reached across the table and took her hand. Mom died 3 years ago. The bills were over $150,000. Danny tried to be strong, but the stress was too much for him. He started drinking. He stopped going to work. We started fighting all the time. Jake squeezed her hand gently. He didn't say anything because he could see Lisa needed to tell her story. I had to quit nursing school to work full-time. I got a job at the hospital as a nurse's aide, but it wasn't enough money. Danny left us 2 years ago. He said he couldn't handle the pressure anymore. He said he never signed up for so much debt and responsibility. I'm sorry, Lisa. That's terrible. The worst part is that he was right. He didn't sign up for this, neither did I. But when you love someone, you're supposed to stay and fight together. Lisa wiped her eyes with a napkin. Jake felt angry at Danny, but he knew getting angry wouldn't help Lisa. So now it's just me and the kids. I work here 6 days a week and clean offices at night 3 times a week. Ben and Amy stay with Mrs. Johnson next door when I'm working late. What about the medical bills? I pay what I can each month. It's not much, but I'm trying. The hospital has been patient with me, but I know they won't wait forever. Jake wanted to ask more questions, but he could see that talking about money made Lisa uncomfortable. Tell me about your kids, he said instead. Lisa's face lit up. Ben is so smart, Jake. Just like you were smart, even though people didn't always see it. He loves computers and math. He got accepted into a special program for gifted kids at the middle school. That's wonderful. It would be wonderful if I could afford it. The program costs $300 a month. I've been trying to save the money, but every time I get close, something else comes up. Last month, our car broke down and I had to use the money I'd saved for repairs. Jake felt his heart break a little more. Lisa's son was being held back by money, just like Jake had been held back by his reading problems. What about Amy? Amy is an artist. She draws the most beautiful pictures, but she needs glasses. She's been squinting at the blackboard at school and her teacher says she's having trouble seeing. I keep meaning to take her to the eye doctor, but you can't afford it right now. Lisa nodded, looking embarrassed. I'm a terrible mother. My daughter can't see properly and I can't even buy her glasses. You're not a terrible mother, Jake said firmly. You're doing everything you can. That makes you a great mother. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had made different choices. If I had stayed at Stanford. If I had married someone else. If I had been stronger. Lisa, listen to me. Jake leaned forward and looked directly into her eyes. You made the right choices. You took care of your mother when she needed you. You're taking care of your children now. That takes more strength than anything else in the world. Lisa smiled through her tears. Thank you for saying that. I needed to hear it. A customer called for Lisa from across the diner. Her break was over. I have to go, she said, standing up. Lisa, wait, let me help you. I have money. I can pay for Ben's program and Amy's glasses. I can help with the medical bills. Lisa shook her head quickly. No, Jake, I can't take your money. We've managed this long on our own. But why? We're friends. Friends help each other. Because I need to do this myself. I need to know that I can take care of my kids without anyone's help. Do you understand? Jake nodded, but he didn't really understand. He wanted to help her so badly it hurt. Okay, he said, but promise me something. If things get really bad, if you really need help, you'll call me. Lisa hesitated. I don't even have your phone number. Jake wrote his number on a napkin. Promise. Me, Lisa? I promise, she said. But Jake could tell she didn't mean it. Lisa walked away to help her customer. Jake sat alone in the booth for a long time thinking. Lisa was too proud to accept help, but she needed it desperately. There had to be a way to help her without hurting her pride. Jake had built a company worth billions of dollars by solving problems. Now he had a new problem to solve, and it was the most important one of his life. Jake flew back to California the next day, but he couldn't stop thinking about Lisa. He tried to focus on work, but every time he looked at his computer screen, he saw her tired face. He thought about her working 2 jobs just to pay bills. He thought about her son Ben, who couldn't join the gifted program. He thought about little Amy, who needed glasses but couldn't get them. For 3 days, Jake walked around his office like a man with a problem he couldn't solve. His assistant, Maria, noticed he wasn't acting like himself. "Mr. Miller, are you feeling okay?" she asked. "You seem worried about something." Jake looked up from his desk. "Maria, do you know any good private investigators?" Maria looked surprised. "Private investigators? What kind of investigation do you need?" "I need to know more about someone's situation, but I need it done quietly. Very quietly. My brother-in-law used to be a police detective. Now he works as a private investigator. His name is Tony Rodriguez. He's honest and careful. Can you call him? I need to meet with him today." 2 hours later, Tony Rodriguez sat in Jake's office. He was a short, serious man with gray hair and kind eyes. Jake liked him right away. "I need you to find out everything you can about a woman named Lisa Carter in Springfield," Jake said. "But this is very important. She cannot know anyone is asking about her. She can never find out." "What exactly do you want to know?" Tony asked. "I want to know about her money problems. I want to know about her kids. I want to know how bad things really are for her." Tony nodded. "This sounds personal. Is she a friend?" "She's the best friend I ever had," Jake said. "She helped me when no one else would. Now she needs help, but she's too proud to accept it." "I understand. Give me a week." Tony was as good as his word. A week later, he returned to Jake's office with a thick folder full of information. "Your friend Lisa is in worse trouble than you probably know," Tony said as he opened the folder. Jake felt his stomach tighten. "How bad?" "The medical bills from her mother's cancer treatment total $153,000. She's been paying $50 a month for 3 years. At that rate, it will take her over 200 years to pay it off." Jake shook his head. "That's impossible. It gets worse. She's 3 months behind on her rent. Her landlord, a man named Frank Morrison, has been threatening to evict her. She owes him $1,800. "Why hasn't he evicted her yet?" Tony smiled a little. "Because Lisa has been cleaning his office building for free every weekend. Morrison owns several buildings in town. Lisa cleans them in exchange for him not kicking her family out of their apartment." Jake felt angry. Lisa was working 7 days a week and still couldn't pay her bills. What about her ex-husband? Doesn't he pay child support? "Danny Carter disappeared 6 months ago. No one knows where he is. He hasn't sent any money for the kids since he left." Tony pulled out more papers. "But here's the interesting part. Your friend Lisa is doing some amazing things in her community." "What do you mean?" "She volunteers at the Springfield Literacy Center every Sunday. It's her only day off from her paying jobs, but she still goes there to teach adults how to read." Jake looked up, surprised. "She teaches reading?" "She uses special methods to help people who have trouble with reading. The center director told me Lisa is the best volunteer teacher they've ever had. She's especially good with people who have learning problems." Jake thought about how Lisa used to help him with his dyslexia. She had always been patient and kind when he struggled with words. "The center is in trouble too," Tony continued. "They're going to close next month because they don't have enough money to stay open." "How much money do they need?" Tony looked at his notes. "About $20,000 to stay open for another year." Jake wrote down the number. $20,000 was nothing to him. It was less than he spent on lunch in a month. "There's more," Tony said. "Lisa has been secretly paying for school lunches for poor kids at her children's school. She gives the school cafeteria $50 every month to make sure some kids don't go hungry." $50 she doesn't have," Jake said quietly. "Right. She's been selling her belongings to make ends meet. Last month she sold her wedding ring to pay for her daughter's school supplies. Jake put his head in his hands. Lisa was giving away money she didn't have to help other people. She was working herself to death and still finding ways to be generous. What about her kids? How are they doing? Tony's face softened. They're good kids. Ben, the 12-year-old, is very smart. His teachers say he could be an engineer or a scientist someday, but he's been getting into fights at school. Fights? That doesn't sound like Lisa's son. Other kids have been making fun of him because his clothes are old and his shoes have holes in them. Ben is angry and embarrassed, but he doesn't want to tell his mother because he knows she's doing her best. Jake felt sick. Lisa's son was going through the same kind of embarrassment Jake had felt as a child. What about the daughter? Amy is 8 years old. She's very artistic, but she's struggling in school because she can't see the blackboard clearly. Her teacher has been moving her to the front of the classroom, but Amy really needs glasses. Tony pulled out a photo. I took this picture at the school. Amy is the little girl in the front row. Jake looked at the photo and saw a small girl with brown hair squinting at a book. She looked exactly like Lisa had at that age. The school counselor told me something else, Tony said. Amy has been telling the other kids that her daddy is coming back soon with lots of money to buy her glasses and new clothes. She doesn't understand that he's not coming back. Jake closed his eyes. An 8-year-old girl was living in a fantasy because the truth was too hard to accept. There's one more thing, Tony said. I found out that Lisa applied for 3 different jobs last week. Better jobs that would pay more money. That's good news, right? She didn't get any of them. All 3 employers said she was qualified, but they needed someone who could work more hours. Lisa can't work more hours because she has to take care of her kids. Jake stood up and walked to his office window. He looked out at the city below. Thousands of people were walking around, living their lives, not knowing that just a few hundred miles away, the kindest person he had ever known was drowning in problems. Is there anything else? Jake asked. Just one more thing. I talked to several people in Springfield who know Lisa. Everyone said the same thing about her. She never complains. She never asks for help. She always has a smile for everyone, even when she's struggling. Tony closed the folder. Your friend is a remarkable woman, Mr. Miller, but she can't keep this up much longer. Something has to change, or she's going to lose everything. After Tony left, Jake sat alone in his office for hours. He had all the information he needed, but he still had the same problem. Lisa was too proud to accept help directly. If he just sent her money, she would send it back. He needed a plan that would help Lisa without hurting her pride, a plan that would give her a new start in life without making her feel like she was accepting charity. Jake had built his fortune by thinking outside the box. Now he needed to think outside the box again, but this time it wasn't about making money. This time it was about saving his friend's life. By the time the sun set that evening, Jake had the beginning of an idea. It was risky and complicated, but it might work. If he was careful and smart about it, he could change Lisa's life forever without her ever knowing he was behind it. The plan would take time and patience, but Jake had both. More importantly, he had something Lisa had given him 20 years ago. The belief that impossible problems could be solved if you cared enough to try. Jake spent 2 weeks thinking about his plan. He knew it had to be perfect. If Lisa found out he was behind it, she would be angry and embarrassed. She might never speak to him again. But if he did nothing, she would lose her apartment and her children would suffer. The first thing Jake did was call Tony Rodriguez again. I need you to find out who owns the Springfield Literacy Center, Jake said. I already know that, Tony replied. It's owned by an old woman named Mrs. Helen Davis. She's 85 years old and lives in a nursing home now. Her grandson has been trying to sell the building for months. Perfect. I want to buy it. But Mrs. Davis and her grandson can never know who I am. Can you handle that? I can set up a fake company name. What do you want to call it? Jake thought, for a moment. Carter Foundation. No, wait, that's too obvious. How about Springfield Community Foundation? That works. What's your plan? Jake took a deep breath. I'm going to offer Lisa a job. But she has to think it's a real job, not charity. She has to believe she earned it. 3 days later, Tony called Jake with good news. He had bought the Literacy Center building for $40,000. The grandson was so happy to sell it that he didn't ask many questions about the mysterious Springfield Community Foundation. Now came the hard part. Jake needed to create a believable story about why the Literacy Center was suddenly getting new funding. He worked with Tony to create fake documents and letters. Everything had to look real. Jake also needed to make sure Lisa would be interested in the job. He remembered how she had helped him learn to read in high school. She had been better than any teacher he ever had. Teaching people to read was something Lisa truly cared about. On a Monday morning, Lisa was cleaning tables at Murphy's diner when a man in a nice suit walked in. He was carrying a briefcase and looking around the restaurant like he was searching for someone. "Excuse me," he said to Lisa. "Are you Lisa Carter?" Lisa looked surprised. "Yes, I am. Can I help you?" The man smiled. "My name is Robert Johnson. I work for the Springfield Community Foundation. We've heard wonderful things about your volunteer work at the Literacy Center." Lisa felt nervous. She wasn't in trouble, was she? She had always been careful to do good work at the center. "I volunteer there on Sundays," she said carefully. "We know. Mrs. Patterson, the center director, says you're the best reading teacher she's ever worked with. She says you have a special gift for helping people who struggle with reading." Lisa felt a little proud, but also confused. "Thank you, but why are you here?" Robert opened his briefcase and pulled out some papers. "The Springfield Community Foundation has decided to expand the Literacy Center. We want to turn it into a full community education center. We'll offer reading classes, job training, and help people get their high school diplomas." "That sounds wonderful," Lisa said. "The center really needs more programs. We're looking for someone to run the new center, someone who understands the community and knows how to teach reading to adults. Mrs. Patterson recommended you for the job." Lisa almost dropped the coffee pot she was holding. "Me? But I'm not qualified for something like that." "Actually, you are more qualified than you think. You have experience teaching adults to read. You understand how hard it is for people who struggle with learning, and you know this community better than anyone." Lisa sat down in the nearest chair. This had to be a dream. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. "What would the job involve?" she asked. Robert pulled out a folder. "You would be the center director. You'd hire other teachers, create programs, and work with local businesses to provide job training. The salary would be $85,000 per year." Lisa's mouth fell open. $85,000 was more money than she had ever imagined making. It was more than 4 times what she made working at the diner and cleaning offices. "There has to be a mistake," she said. "I don't have a college degree. I never finished nursing school. The foundation believes that experience is more important than degrees. You've been teaching people to read for 5 years. You know what works and what doesn't work. That's exactly what we need." Robert handed her the folder. "The job also comes with full health insurance for you and your children. There's money set aside for your kids' education, and you'll have a company car to use." Lisa started to cry. She couldn't help it. For 3 years, she had been working herself to death just to survive. Now someone was offering her a chance at a real life. "Why me?" she asked through her tears. "There must be other people who are more qualified." "Lisa, can I tell you something? The person who is funding this project specifically asked for someone who understands what it's like to struggle. Someone who won't give up on people when learning is hard for them. Mrs. Patterson told us about how you work with people who have dyslexia and other learning problems. She says you never get frustrated with them." Lisa wiped her eyes with a napkin. She thought about all the hours she had spent helping people at the Literacy Center. She thought about the adults who came there feeling ashamed because they couldn't read. She remembered how proud they looked when they read their first book. "When would I start?" she asked. "As soon as possible. The foundation wants to have the new center open in 2 months. There's a lot of work to do." Lisa looked around the diner. She had been working there for 2 years. The owner, Mr. Murphy, had been kind to her, but she knew he would understand. This was the chance of a lifetime. "Can I think about it?" she asked. Robert smiled. Of course, but don't think too long. The foundation is excited about this project and they want to get started. After Robert left, Lisa sat in the diner for a long time staring at the folder. Inside were job descriptions, salary information, and benefit details. Everything looked real and professional. She thought about Ben and his gifted program. With this job, she could afford the monthly fees. She thought about Amy and her glasses. She could take her daughter to the eye doctor next week if she wanted to. Most importantly, she thought about doing work that really mattered. Teaching people to read had always made her happy. It was the one thing in her life that felt meaningful, even when everything else was falling apart. That evening, Lisa called the number Robert had given her. "I'll take the job," she said. "Wonderful," Robert replied. "Can you start next Monday?" "Yes," Lisa said. "And thank you. Thank you for believing in me." After she hung up the phone, Lisa hugged her children and told them the good news. Ben jumped up and down with excitement. Amy asked if she could finally get glasses. "Yes, sweetheart," Lisa said. "We can get you glasses and new clothes and anything else you need." That night, for the first time in 3 years, Lisa went to sleep without worrying about money. She didn't know that 500 miles away in California, Jake Miller was also going to sleep with a smile on his face. The first part of his plan had worked perfectly. Now he had to make sure everything else went smoothly. Lisa deserved this chance at happiness, and Jake was going to make sure nothing went wrong. But Jake's plan was bigger than just giving Lisa a job. He had other surprises in store. Things that would change her life in ways she couldn't imagine. The hard part was over. Now came the fun part. 6 months later, Lisa could hardly believe how much her life had changed. The Springfield Community Learning Center was busy every day. Adults came to learn how to read. Young people worked to get their high school diplomas. Local businesses sent workers for job training. Lisa loved her new job. Every morning she woke up excited to go to work. She had hired 3 wonderful teachers who shared her passion for helping people learn. The center had become the heart of the community, and Lisa was proud to be running it. Ben was thriving in his gifted program. His grades were excellent, and he had made new friends who shared his love of computers and science. He talked about becoming an engineer someday, just like his teachers said he could. Amy had gotten her glasses and could finally see the blackboard clearly. Her grades improved immediately, and she was drawing more beautiful pictures than ever. She had even joined the school art club and was taking special art classes on weekends. The best part was that Lisa didn't worry about money anymore. She could buy groceries without counting every dollar. She could take her kids to the movies on weekends. When Ben needed new clothes or Amy wanted art supplies, Lisa could say yes instead of maybe next month. But even with all these good changes, Lisa sometimes felt confused. She couldn't understand why the Springfield Community Foundation had chosen her for such an important job. She had asked Robert Johnson about it several times, but he always gave her the same answer about her experience and dedication. One day, Lisa received a phone call that surprised her. "Mrs. Carter, this is Janet Wilson from the Springfield Community Foundation headquarters. We're planning a special ceremony to celebrate the success of your center. We'd like to invite some important people to speak about the center's impact on the community." "That sounds wonderful," Lisa said. "What kind of ceremony?" "We want to officially rename the center in honor of someone who has made a big difference in education. We'll have a ribbon cutting and speeches from community leaders." Lisa felt excited. The center deserved recognition for all the good work it was doing. "When will this happen?" she asked. "Next Saturday at 2 o'clock. We're expecting about 100 people. Local newspapers will be there and maybe even a television crew." The week passed quickly. Lisa made sure the center looked perfect for the ceremony. She arranged flowers in the classrooms and made sure all the students' work was displayed on the walls. On Saturday morning, Lisa dressed in her best outfit and arrived at the center early. Workers were setting up chairs and a small stage in the main room. A red ribbon was stretched across the front entrance, waiting to be cut. People started arriving at 1:30. Lisa recognized many faces from the community. The mayor was there, along with school principals and business owners. Mrs. Patterson, the former center director, gave Lisa a big hug. "I'm so proud of you," Mrs. Patterson said. "You've done more for this center in 6 months than I did in 5 years." At exactly 2 o'clock, Janet Wilson stepped up to the microphone. "Welcome everyone to this special celebration," she began. 6 months ago, the Springfield Community Learning Center was about to close. Today, it's one of the most successful education programs in the state. The crowd applauded. Lisa felt nervous, but proud. "We're here today to rename this center in honor of someone who understands the importance of education and second chances. But before we reveal the new name, we have a special guest who wants to speak." Janet looked toward the back of the room. "Please welcome Mr. Jake Miller." Lisa's heart stopped. She turned around and saw Jake walking toward the stage. He was wearing a nice suit and smiling, but he looked nervous too. The crowd whispered excitedly. Many people recognized Jake from news articles about his success. Lisa felt confused and scared. Why was Jake here? Jake took the microphone and looked directly at Lisa. "Thank you all for coming today," he said. "This center is very special to me, and I want to tell you why." Lisa's hands started shaking. She had a feeling something big was about to happen. 20 years ago, I was a student at Springfield High School. I had dyslexia, which made reading very difficult for me. Most kids made fun of me, and I felt stupid and hopeless. Jake paused and smiled at Lisa. But there was one student who never made fun of me. Her name was Lisa Carter. She spent hours helping me with my homework. She taught me that having trouble reading didn't mean I was stupid. She believed in me when nobody else did, including myself. Lisa felt tears starting in her eyes. She remembered those afternoons helping Jake with his schoolwork. Lisa's kindness and patience changed my life. She gave me the confidence to keep trying, even when things were hard. Because of her help, I was able to start my own company and become successful. The crowd was listening carefully to every word. When I found Lisa working at Murphy's Diner 6 months ago, I learned that she had been struggling to take care of her family. I also learned that she had been volunteering here at the Literacy Center, using the same patient teaching methods she had used to help me. Lisa's heart was beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it. I realized that Lisa was still helping people learn to read, just like she had helped me. So I decided to create the Springfield Community Foundation, to give Lisa the job she deserved and to help this center grow. The crowd gasped. Several people looked at Lisa with surprise and admiration. Lisa Carter is the most generous, dedicated teacher I have ever known. She changed my life, and now she's changing the lives of everyone who comes to this center. Jake walked over to Lisa, who was crying now. "I didn't tell you before because I knew you wouldn't accept help from a friend. You needed to earn this job on your own, and you did. You've made this center amazing because you care about people and you never give up on them." Lisa could barely speak. "Jake, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. You've already given me more than I could ever give you back." Janet Wilson returned to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to announce that this center will now be called the Carter Community Learning Center, in honor of Lisa Carter and her mother, who taught her the importance of caring for others." The crowd applauded loudly. Lisa was crying so hard she could barely see. Jake put his arm around her shoulders. "Your mother would be so proud of you, Lisa. You've helped so many people, just like you helped me." "I can't believe you did all this," Lisa whispered. "You saved my life 20 years ago," Jake said. "Now it was my turn to help save yours." The mayor handed Lisa a pair of scissors to cut the red ribbon. As she cut it, everyone cheered and took pictures. Later, after all the guests had left, Lisa and Jake sat in her office talking. "How did you do all this without me knowing?" Lisa asked. Jake smiled. "I had help from some very good people. The important thing is that you earned this job. You're an amazing teacher and leader. I just made sure you got the chance to show it." "What? About all my debts? The medical bills and the rent?" "The foundation has a program that helps community volunteers pay off their debts. It's all taken care of." Lisa shook her head in amazement. "I still can't believe this is real." "It's real, Lisa, and you deserve every bit of it." That evening, Lisa went home to her children with a heart full of gratitude. Ben and Amy were excited to hear about the ceremony. and to learn that their mother was being honored by the whole community. As Lisa tucked Amy into bed, her daughter asked, "Mommy, are we going to be okay now?" "Yes, sweetheart," Lisa said, kissing her forehead. "We're going to be just fine." For the first time in years, Lisa knew that was true. She had learned that sometimes angels come in the form of old friends who never forget a kindness, and sometimes helping others is the best way to help yourself.